catch up to the countdown, we will start talking about some Zelda. And we are off. Now, Mutt, this is your second race that you've commentated today.
Absolutely. What's up?
This, I presume that you've already had your fill of talking about the escape and pumping?
Deebs and I did not talk about pumping for a single second, and it was glorious. But if you would like to, by all means, take it away, Screeve.
Well, we are here in the escape sequence where every Legend of Zelda Link to the Past speedrun begins. There is not much to speak of. From a story perspective, you were woken up out of your sleep and told to go to the castle and rescue a princess. And for some reason, even though you're a small child that was just told to stay in bed, you decide to do that. Now, you can't really do a whole lot of anything right yet. You don't have any items, and all you can do is walk. So the only real movement tech that you're going to see is something called pumping, basically a mashing of perpendicular buttons while moving north or west, and it gives a little tiny speed boosts, and that's pretty much all there is to say about that. But we will progress into the castle, and we will be making our way through a series of rooms, taking as little damage as possible until we get to our first quick kill, a blue guard that holds a key.
Pretty nice green guard pattern for Kyong. Xyrak had to go a little bit through the middle there, but also pretty favorable pattern. Wasn't able to pump to the wall entirely, but not bad at all.
Both runners going with the north slash to get this blue guard quick kill. A double spin against the statue kills the guard near the door, so you can pick up the key and progress. Well done from both. And as they make their way through the first part of escape, they're going to pass our two favorite green guards, the downtown boys, who are just standing around and taking it.
Where are they taking it?
Downtown.
Down to the ground?
To the ground.
To the ground. Okay.
Yes. Another quick kill on another blue guard yields another key, but this time they also leave the room with a boomerang, which you would think is a waste of time to get, but you will see it actually used for some pretty good time saves later in the run. Oh, Kyong going for the pot strat on the green guard. One pot, poke, spin, and misses the last couple of slashes, but is able to clean it up. Xyrak also cleans up the ball and chain guard.
Yeah, there's obviously a number of ways you can handle the ball and chain guard. 8 slashes being a little bit of a more difficult strat that you'll typically see more advanced players go to. That being said, recently, my boy Screevo's wife took it to the ball and chain guard, all in on the 8 slash strategy, and it was incredible. So she did not want to use the pots at all. She wanted no handicap.
I'm currently enjoying watching my wife blind play through this game. Somehow it's she's gone 30 some odd years not having sat down and played it, it seems. So it's she says she's played it now. She's giving me a look right now. We are making our way back through the escape and saying hello to the downtown boys, said hello to the blue guard that we previously killed, but who has since come back to life. Which is actually kind of weird if you think about it.
Yeah, he was not gone long at all.
Easily replaced. And we are now going to make our way to the back half of escape, the sewers portion. Just got to push a piece of furniture out of the way first. There's actually a lot more to pushing this shelf than it appears. It is very easy to lose a non-insubstantial amount of time if you push it too far or don't push it far enough on the first try.
I think what would you call it? Throne room, I guess? The throne room in general is like kind of a tricky room but because there's no enemies you have to dodge or fight, it kind of seems like it's super simple. But between the movement up the short bit of stairs and then the dialogue boxes and then moving nicely diagonally and then, like you said, timing the pushing of the, I don't know, object, it's kind of a tricky room, honestly.
Yeah, that's actually the big thing that separates runners of different skills here in Escape is this is these first two segments, Escape and Eastern, where you don't have the boots and you actually have to do walking movement everywhere. It is very indicative of who has good solid movement and who does not. And it's the difference between a low 550s or a 6+ Escape. Is just little movement optimizations here or there throughout. Kyong is into the last room, and looks like we're going to have 554 from Kyong, 55. And Xyrak not that far behind with a 59.
Oh, nice. Double sub-6s. You like to see that in a race. Looking good so far. I imagine both our runners are going to be picking up that Sanctuary Heart, but we'll see here.
Yep. So, for anybody who is not seen a No Major Glitches race or run before, this is the standard original, as Miyamoto intended it, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Both of these runners are going to be utilizing the Japanese 1.0 version, and the object of this category is to complete the game as quickly as possible without using anything that is classified as a major glitch, and a major glitch is classified as anything that lets you skip major sections of the game, such as entire dungeons. So you will be seeing all 3 pendants, all 7 crystals, Ganon's Tower and Ganon, done as quickly as possible. And the first of those pendants is up ahead in Eastern Palace, which our runners are making their way to right now.
One of my favorite things that they decided to make standard for the category was the option to disallow the save and quit feature, which is used in a lot of Zelda games. But the overworld's really tricky in this game, and it's also like really nice to just like enjoy being able to travel all around Hyrule in this game. So not having that save and quit and really showcasing all that the world has to offer is like something I particularly like, that actually attracted me to the game.
Yeah, so as he said, the no major glitches category does not allow save and quit. So there is a lot more of overworld movement, whereas the save and quit category has less overworld movement, but you start most segments without full hearts. So each category has benefits and drawbacks. This no major glitches category is the primary category of Link to the Past speedrunning. So Kyong is about to enter the Stelphos room, the first real trick of the run. Normally you spawn 4 Stelphos in this room, but by walking in a particular pattern, you cause 1 to spawn out of the room, 1 on a pot, and then you only have 2 to kill. Xyrak had a little bit of trouble and threw a pot the wrong direction, but still only had to kill 2 Stelphos.
Yeah, he kind of showcased where one of the Stelphos tries to spawn on the door there.
Yep.
Whenever he threw the pot up, and you kind of saw the like death explosion, I guess you could call it. That sounds way more violent than it really is. The death explosion.
Death explosion. This Sunday at the Coliseum. Death explosion. My favorite band.
They're so hardcore.
Kyong going for the diagonal boom strap, but catching in Stelphos. Xyrak also trying to boomerang the key and has a little bit of trouble, but both of them get on with it.
This room with this bridge is a really nice room to, like, if you are interested in learning the how pumping works and like the difference it can make. I like to test like just walking through that room and pumping just one direction on one of the walls, and you'll see like a noticeable difference in time that it takes to cross it pretty easily.
Also, you just saw both of our runners take some damage and get a big key. They used a damage boost to get through that ring of anti-fairies and hit the switch. Normally you have to kill all the enemies in that room, but using damage boosts, we do it faster.
Let's grab in the first item that really allows us to attack enemies directly being the bow. I guess you could technically kill the Armos with the boomerang if you're a wild man, but
yes, you can.
if you're a wild man.
As we make our way through the last few rooms here of Escape, we've got this cannonball room, which is pure RNG, just gotta hit the top left switch. Into this room, the Zelda Gamer room, we call it, with the 2 skeletons that move randomly and the red Igor. Kyong and Xyrak both handling this well. Oh, Xyrak having a little bit of trouble in Zelda Gamer. That's what happens when it gets away from you, though. Kyong going into Armos for the quick kill, gets to the top right, fires 5, gets to the top left, and fires 13. Easy every time. Xyrak taking a different approach. I've got to say, I've never seen that setup before. And last
unfortunately, yeah, shoots the final arrow just a little bit to the left of the last Armos, but no big deal. Just pumps 3 arrows home into the final one, grabs his pendant.
And now that we have the green pendant, we are able to... Yeah, you could say that. Somebody died in there. Now that we have the pendant, we are going to go and stop over at Sahasrahla and pick up the item that makes this a speedrun, the boots. And that opens up a whole new level of movement techniques and optimization. The first one here is the spin speed, a Japanese 1.0 exclusive glitch. By charging your sword and tapping dash on the first frame after you release the sword, you get put into a glitch state, and then by transitioning from stairs to flat ground, you can move freely in all directions at the dashing speed.
Xyrak missed his on his first try, but looks like he gets it pretty quickly on his second attempt and gets on through past those octos.
Yep. And now that you have the boots, sort of the optimizations that go into that are what we call maximizing your dashes. Basically, dashing is the fastest movement that you have, well, dashing and spin speed. And if you are dashing in a straight line, what you want to make sure that you do is cover as much ground as possible with the dash, which means start it as early as possible and cancel it as late as possible without, of course, bonking into a wall. So that's the type of movement optimizations that we look for as we now go dashing throughout the rest of the game. Kyong and Xyrak now using those boots to knock this book off the shelf. And we are on our way to the second pen. Checking the map. Yes, you are still in front of the library, Xyrak. But we're on our way to the second pendant dungeon, the Desert Palace. Of course, in true early Zelda fashion, you get an item and you will learn to use it quickly, and the Desert Palace is basically the dash training ground. A lot of wide open spaces, room to make the big mistakes.
Oh my god, I was like, is he gonna do it? Yep, okay, never mind. Yep, it's happening.
What? What? It's perfectly original thought. Nobody's ever said that before.
Of course. Especially not teeny bopper country singers.
I don't know.
No judgment at all. No judgment at all.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We can start a Twitch team called the Dixie Chicks if you'd like.
I would name my Twitch team something else probably, but we'll take that. So, as I said, here in Desert, it is just a bunch of relatively empty rooms that you dash through. But the first challenge is added here in the room that Kyong is about to enter, and it's the Cannonball room. 32 different patterns that you can get when entering this room from the Cannonball. Some of them will let you dash right on through. Some of them will give you dashes interruptus. But
Kyong got one that was a little bit unfortunate, but pretty much nailed it as far as he could, which was nice to see. See what kind of RNG Xyrak gets with his. Xyrak also a little low on arrows. He had to use a couple extra, had a little bit of trouble at the end of Eastern, so hopefully he can make some of that up with a cleaner landmo fight.
Yeah, Xyrak getting an unfortunate cannonball pattern too. But gets the clean dash out, and Kyong has a nice pair of gloves. Now Xyrak will be running into 10 more arrows incidentally, but 22 will still be a low amount to enter the boss fight, so he'll probably pick up one additional pot. Meanwhile, Kyong is through the first half of Desert and on to Desert 2. So now is probably a good time to start talking about the boss of Desert Palace, the Landmolas. 3 worms, 16 hit points, and your object is to reduce all 3 worms to 0 hit points as quickly as possible. Arrows do 4 damage, slashes do 2, so ideally you will use 12 arrows and dispatch them quickly. So that is why Xyrak's going to want to pick up some extras, because you never land all 12. Kyong's in a good position here with 28 going into the fight, and a low 16/20 torches time, which is one of our first benchmarks. Using
There's a little dash buffer, yeah. Fortunately takes a couple of hits there from the second landmo.
Yeah, there's the safety arrows from Xyrak. 1652 torches.
A really nice 4th cycle there from Kyong. Able to catch up a little bit on the worms he was behind. And finishes up with a pretty early 5 cycle. Considering the damage he took in the beginning, it's a pretty nice finish.
Meanwhile, Xyrak enters the fight and gets 2, 2, and 1 at a slash, but gets an unfortunate pattern on the second cycle. Still has 2 worms dead after the 3rd cycle. And
nice
cleans
cleanup
it up
for
in
Xyrak.
4.
Really nicely done.
Yeah, 2 cycles is the fastest that you can go in RTA. 3 and 4 are also considered, decent. Anything beyond 4, and you start, pretty much counting that as time lost. Each cycle takes about 6 seconds. So on that fight alone, Xyrak made up about 6 seconds of the difference between himself and Kyong.
Xyrak going for the slash on the Sandman there, and dashing through the end there. While we got Kyong going for the fake flippers, jumping into the river, 1 pixel away from the edge of the screen. Beautiful. Love it.
And Xyrak not that far behind. That's our second of our Japanese 1.0 exclusive minor glitches. Oh, Xyrak kind of losing the setup for it and is trying to manually buffer into position. Looks like he's got it there. And into the whirlpool. Meanwhile, Kyong, apparently the theme of this game is just that a child that does not know how to follow the rules has decided to stop in a dark cave and talk to strangers, and this one has promised him a special surprise if he goes back to his cave with him.
Sign me up. What could possibly go wrong?
This stranger danger doesn't exist in Hyrule.
He's just helping out the elderly. It's fine.
Turns out he really was just a nice old man with no evil intentions, gives you a magic mirror, and sends you on your way.
Which sounds like a very average gift, but if you're as egotistical as Link certainly is, you gotta feed his vanity and pride, which is, amazing.
Kyong is on his way into Hera, and meanwhile, Xyrak is going to start his climb of the aggro crag.
Do you have it?
Guts. I miss more Quirk. Best referee in all of sports.
I was particularly fond of Mark Summers myself, a little double dare.
So here in Hera, we're going to see a few things for the first time. I think from... actually, no, you're not going to see a boomerang dash from Kyong. He's just going to go ahead and dance out of the way of the tiles. But you're going to see the first of our 4 bomb jumps coming up. So this is, as I said, a no major glitches tournament, but there are plenty of minor glitches and physics abuse techniques that you will see, including the bomb jumps. Basically, there are gaps that you're intended to proceed through a maze or other path to get to the other side of, but you will see our racers soon enough using the damage from a bomb to boost them across a pit that they're not supposed to cross. Oh, there's the boomerang dash from Xyrak. So that's our 3rd Japanese 1.0 exclusive minor glitch, the item dash. By using an item and dashing on the same frame, you can produce both actions simultaneously. And that was used.
Kyong with a pretty interesting beetle strat pots the first one and actually stands below the orb and slashes directly up to pot the second one to the middle hole there. That was pretty interesting. I've not seen that before. Very cool.
Kyong being race smart and safe, hitting that switch to allow him to pick up some extra hearts before the Moldorm fight coming up. But here is the bomb jump. Kyong's going to place a bomb, get within 2 pixels of the edge of the hole, and let the boost throw him across. If you're 6 pixels or less away, you need to use a bonk to kind of extend that boost, but Kyong was able to get right into position and do it bonkless. Xyrak not far behind, but Kyong taking advantage of that switch, picking up some pots and some hearts, and on to the Moldorm fight. So the Moldorm fight is also pretty much, for all intents and purposes, completely random. There are some patterns that you can start to recognize, but basically the idea is chase the head, hit the tail, and don't fall off the ledge like that.
Unfortunately, got a little reckless Moldorm did there on that final phase, and he just kind of like balled up in the corner, and Kyong wasn't able to get a poke on him.
And just like that, both of our racers are now in the Moldorm fight together. Falling off the outer edge isn't that bad. Falling down the middle hole is unpleasant. I wouldn't recommend it, Xyrak.
And it can happen to anyone. In the last NMG tournament, I believe Zelda actually got middle hold in one of his races.
And Xyrak goes off the right
gets
side.
off the edge as well, so both of our runners take a late fight edge knockoff too. I believe that was the final hit for both of them, and they got knocked off.
Yeah, the thing to see here is that Xyrak did not hit that switch, cannot pick up those pots for hearts, and is down to 1 heart. So he's got to play it safe here, because any hit from Moldorm will be a death. Ooh, that was close.
Looks like he's just trying to get some pokes, doesn't want to really expose himself. Oh, but a Moldorm takes an odd bounce off the corner of the hole and nicks him in the back. So he's going to have to make his way back up Hera and get back to that fight.
Yep. Meanwhile, Kyong is on his way to pick up the Master Sword, but first, we're going to tug on some trees. We need 110 rupees to get into the first Dark World dungeon, and conveniently, there is a mechanic where the trees drop rupees based off of how many enemies you've killed consecutively with or without taking damage. So, basically, if you kill 4 enemies but you have taken damage, and you pull a tree that will give rupees, you'll get 4 blues. If you kill 4 enemies without having taken damage since the last time you pulled a tree, you'll get reds, and if you have not killed 4 enemies at all, you'll get greens. So we've killed 4 enemies since we've started the game. We pull the first tree, we get blues. make our way through the Lost Woods and back to another tree, killing 4 enemies, but not taking damage, so we can get 4 red rupees. So the idea is to enter Hyrule Castle, Aghanim's Tower, with at least 104 rupees, because we're guaranteed 6 in the tower. And you see that Kyong has 24. He'll get 80 from the red pole coming up, and that will set him up exactly on his rupee route. Meanwhile, Xyrak finishes up Moldorm.
So see Kyong getting killing his bird there. Grabs the mushroom, actually. I don't think Kyong actually typically gets powder, but maybe he's just thinking he knows he has a little bit of a lead. Maybe he just wants to play it safe so that he can avoid taking costly death in the dark world.
I believe Kyong is an advocate of fake powder.
That makes sense.
The newly discovered 5th minor glitch, which we'll probably see in Ganon's Tower, if not also Misery Mire. Meanwhile, Xyrak is going to be pulling on his trees as Kyong makes his way up to Hyrule Castle and Aghanim's Tower. Now, you might think that the gap between these runners that has opened up is big and perhaps to you looks insurmountable. Well, I can assure you that in this game, no race is over until one runner or the other has picked up the Triforce. And one specific reason for that is the boss of Aghanim's Tower, Aghanim himself, a purely RNG-based time loss of anywhere between none at all up into nearly 2 minutes. So we'll see what happens to our runners. The Aghanim's Tower dungeon itself it's actually pretty hard to optimize. It's a lot of rooms that you have to progress through and either get a key and exit or kill all enemies to progress. It's very easy to lose time in these rooms, like this dark maze where he alerted the guards in just a bad pattern and ended up getting poked a bunch. But it's actually a pretty fun dungeon to practice, pretty fun dungeon to learn to do well. And also things like that can happen.
It's kind of a finicky dungeon, honestly. Some of the enemy movement is like really hard to deal with at times, and you know, there's obviously like the dark maze is really obnoxious. You get the RNGs to deal with and circle of pots that you need to be able to adjust to, etc., etc.
Yep, and then it's all topped off
by absolutely.
Blue Ball Surprise.
That sounds awful.
It's pretty much.
And I mean, in fairness, it is pretty awful. So
it sounds awful, and it is. Yes.
Kyong having a party in the circle of pot, gets through, gets the key, and is going to make his way up to the Aghanim's chamber.
Yes, Aghanim's Saturday TV Funhouse.
His man cave, if you will.
So, with Xyrak entering Aghanim's Tower and Kyong entering the Aghanim fight, let's talk a bit about how the Aghanim fight works. Aghanim is a cycled fight, 5 attacks, lather, rinse, repeat. The first is a guaranteed energy ball that you can reflect and damage Aghanim. Attacks 2, 3, and 4 are 50-50 coin flips, either a reflectable energy ball or a non-reflectable blue ball. Attack 5 is a lightning. It takes 6 reflected shots to kill Aghanim. Every blue ball costs 6 seconds. Blue balls 3, 7, 11, and God help us, 15 cause an extra 6 because they'll send you into another lightning cycle. So far, Kyong is got 3 shots in. And there's 1 blue ball for Kyong. Really the only tech in the Aghanim fight, other than not missing and not dying to Aghanim, Mutski.
I was going to say something about his heart count, but then I was like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to relive it.
The only thing that you can really do is what Kyong's doing is trying to get to the outside and hitting Aghanim back towards the middle to try to shorten any potential warp.
And although it doesn't guarantee that it would make his movement shorter, it certainly, like, on average, would, you know, take the distance he's going to travel and make it shorter, more than likely.
Yep. That's, by the way, 2 blue balls for...
Which is really nice.
So that is 12 seconds of time lost to RNG. 3 is the average. So on average, you're going to lose 24 seconds over a perfect fight. Xyrak also having a party in the Circle of Pops, but eventually the party ends. So that was pretty much the first big window for Xyrak to make up time. Obviously, he can still make up 12 seconds if he has a 0 blue ball fight. So we'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, Kyong is on his way to the first Dark World Crystal Dungeon. The reason that we collected 110 rupees, the Palace of Darkness, which is where the difficulty really starts to ramp up. But first, we are going to be accosted by a talkative little monkey who just wants to tell you all about his CrossFit routine and how burpees changed his life. So you give him 10 rupees to try to shut him up. It's not enough. He's still telling you all about his program. Finally, you give him 100 more, and he goes away. But he's got to show off one last time, so he, for some reason, hops to the top of the building.
Power bombs the switch. I also think it's interesting that the dungeon's pillars are made up of giant gorillas, and other than little Kiki, there is no gorillas to be seen in the entire game.
That is... Yes, why is that?
I don't... you know what? Life's mysteries.
Xyrak is having certainly more blue balls than Kyong. I think I've got 4 thus far. Yes, I believe that was 4.
Takes down the final hit there.
So, on 4 seconds, that is 30 seconds lost, or 4 blue balls, that's 30 seconds lost to RNG. Unfortunately, 28 seconds more than Kyong, and nothing Xyrak can do about it. It is just straight coin tosses. Now, we talked earlier in Hera about hammer jumps, and Palace of Darkness is home to... we talked about bomb jumps, I should say, and Palace of Darkness is home to the hammer jump, the second and probably most difficult of all of them.
Yeah, I think it's most difficult just because of the time window that is so it's so time sensitive from the placement and setup, whereas other bomb jumps, like, you kind of have some, like, you know, less stress and anxiety to deal with.
Yeah, you've pretty much got all day to do the Hera bomb jump if you so choose, but here in Palace of Darkness, you got a collapsing bridge under your feet, and a Helmasaur, mini Helma bearing down on you. But what Kyong's going to do is get on this bridge and place Link on a specific Y-axis coordinate, place a bomb, throw another bomb across, and then get Link back to a specific Y-axis coordinate to line himself up to get boosted across, clip into the rail, and get the hammer a little bit earlier than intended. Saves having to go to the basement, get a key, and go through this dark maze. Meanwhile, Xyrak's got his monkey. And is entering Palace of Darkness. And Kyong is on to the second half of the dungeon.
An archery contest?
How rude.
I don't want to hear it, Mr. People don't die to Aghanim.
Well,
I know one of those is infinitely more embarrassing than the other, I'm aware. It's fine.
Kyong is entering the Mimic's rooms. The red ones move opposite of you. The green ones move the same as you. Just got to manipulate them while firing arrows and kill them quickly. Xyrak, meanwhile, making his way through the first half of Palace of Darkness. And when I said the difficulty ramps up, that is capped off here at the end of Palace of Darkness with the Helmosaur King. Probably other than maybe the crabs, the first thing that really will do multiple hearts worth of damage to you in a single hit. I guess the crabs on the way to fake flippers do too as well for some unknown reason.
Yeah, they're pretty OP, honestly, but yeah.
But you have 7 hearts, and Helma does 2 hearts per hit. You can take 3 hits, and then anything else is death, and that would be either from the tail or the fireballs or just getting stepped on. So, but Kyong is on his way into the fight. And it starts off with 17 hammer hits to take the mask off.
The first phase, he can only do one or the other of his attacks of the tail whip or fireballs. But then after the mask is dismantled, he can do both simultaneously, and his movement will become significantly more erratic.
Kyong going for some hammers, but ooh.
That's an interesting final hit from like beneath him.
Yeah. As you know, you saw real quick, he went from 7 hearts down to 3, but was able to clean it up. Got a couple of early hammers, a spin in, and then was able to do the final damage from within Helmosaur, which is...
And it's also a really brutal death, too. If you do happen to take the death there, it's quite a journey back to the fight, to fight again.
Yep. Xyrak also had a clean hammer jump and is on his way to the second half.
Look how easy he makes shooting that arrow look. Like, both of these gentlemen look like professionals.
Listen, one time it took me 6 arrows. One time. And now that's defined my legacy.
Yeah, I kind of miss the old days where we just talked about the Scrivo switch in Swamp instead.
Listen, I found new and interesting ways to mess up in every dungeon. So as Xyrak's statue moves, Kyong is making his way out of Palace of Darkness and on to the next Dark World dungeon, which in a traditional playthrough would be Swamp Palace, but for us it is faster to go to Thieves Town first for the goal of getting the Tempered Sword as quickly as possible. So we're going to go straight to Dungeon 4. It doesn't take any glitching to do it. You can get there straight away. But first we're going to stop off and pick up a flute. Meanwhile, the Fiesta de las Tortugas over on Xyrak's screen.
My favorite Fiesta.
Not a siesta, as some would have you believe, but it is indeed a fiesta.
I do like to note that, like, just the movement and travel from Pod to Thieves Town is pretty difficult. There's kind of a number of technical screens that involve some pretty precise movement. You saw a hammer dash there, kind of under pressure and under duress of some enemies approaching. You know, we're going to approach a spin speed to avoid the devilishly fast Usain Bolt guard. So it's a pretty impressive series of screens when it's done well.
Xyrak going for hammers, not quite finding it. Down to 2 hearts. Has to be careful here. There is the tail.
Takes the tail whip.
There's the movement that you have to do to avoid the fireballs and the tails is so very difficult.
It's such a small window of area that you can like manipulate Link to be in, to be able to dodge it all at the same time. It's really, really difficult.
Yeah. And as you said, it is quite the punishing death. You've got to make your way all the way back through, and he does not have the arrows required to get through the mimics. So he's going to have to pick up arrow pots in the mimics fight, in the mimics room, which is going to set their pattern all sorts of off.
Fortunately, with this one arrow, he did manage to hit the orb again, so he didn't have to worry about, you know, scrambling to find another method to hit that, because that would have been kind of difficult to deal with.
You will notice, by the way, that Kyong did in fact not get the powder. Is going to be going with the fake powder. still rocking the mushroom because he's such a fun guy.
Oh my.
But after digging up the flute, playing a song for the bird in the center of town, we're on our way to Thieves Town. Xyrak having another bit of a turtle party. This one not quite as egregious. Gets through with still 5 hearts, but again, that means he can only take 2 hits from Helmasaur, and the third one will be death. Okay.
He needs to be really careful again on the refight. Hopefully Helma decides to be a little friendlier this time.
Going for hammers is a bold strategy when you only have 4 hearts. 2 hearts. Oh, man.
He's got it. He's got this. Nice.
Right.
Nicely done.
Meanwhile, Kyong entering the Hellway, but is not going to be able to get a clean dash through because of the Gibo movement, the Patrick Stars. But still gets through relatively unscathed. Making the way to the attic here of Thieves Town to bomb open a hole in the floor for reasons later to be revealed. Speaking of enemies that do a deceptively high number of hearts worth of damage, these little cricket guys will also do 2 hearts.
Little Jiminy's are a little devilishly damaging, I guess.
Yeah, they are, for some reason, except I don't know if they're poisonous or what, but yeah, they'll do 2 hearts of damage, so you gotta look out for them.
Sea biscuits also deal 2 hearts of damage if you give one of them a hug as well.
Yep.
Xyrak making his way through the exit of House of Darkness.
Kyong with the revenge kill on the red horse head that did 2 hearts of damage.
Was not okay with that.
And here, again, stranger danger, not a thing. A strange lady hanging out in a jail cell in a mysterious dungeon. And you're just going to go ahead and trust her sight unseen.
I mean, in fairness, at this point, he's met, if you play chronologically as the game intends, you would have met 3 other maidens at this point, which were completely fine. So I think the deception is, yeah, I guess true. She was not in a crystal, so.
That should have been his hint that something was amiss.
But he did meet another girl in a prison cell, which was also all right. So, you know, it's reasonable.
Yeah. But this one, M. Night Shyamalan twist, is actually the boss. And we are here now in the blind fight. Blind fight is also a cycled fight. Each phase you have to do 3 hits of damage, and after that a head will fly off and start shooting frickin' laser beams. Well, they're actually fireballs, but...
No plot twist in the script of this fight, though. Does it perfectly, lands all 3 hits in each cycle, and grabs his second crystal, so now he'll be able to get his tempered sword.
Yeah, the AI to the blind fight is completely predictable in that if you always do the same thing, blind will always do the same thing. And you can deliver the 9 blows required in a practiced pattern and quickly dispatch the boss, which Kyong did with great efficacy. Meanwhile, Xyrak is also playing a song for a statue. We'll see if Xyrak goes and picks up the powder or if he's also going to stick with the fake powder. Yep. Also going with fake powder. Going for spin speed here, not quite getting it, and just going to go ahead and proceed on as normal. Meanwhile, Kyong is going to stop and pick up some rupees, which will be used later. And on to visit my least favorite character, the world's laziest frog, the only frog in the world that cannot jump, the frog that would not save itself. Could hop off that ledge at any time.
The translation, what the frog actually says is Goro Goro, so he's kind of an odd frog, you know? Breaks the tradition of the typical ribbit.
I believe Goro is actually the sound that a frog is said to make in Japanese.
Yeah, they're like, the sounds are different for most animals. That's true.
Which is why Kiki is called Kiki, because that is the onomatopoeia.
That makes sense, though. Yeah.
So now that Kyong has rescued the lazy frog, turns out it was really a blacksmith that offers cheap labor and is going to get his sword tempered. This is why we do Thieves' Town first, because getting the tempered sword makes the rest of the boss fights fairly easy and much quicker to dispatch. Kyong is going to stop off and collect 300 more rupees that will be used later to purchase real flippers. But first,
oh my God, it's over. Oh my God, that 2 runs in a row. Oh man, oh.
That was what we call the fence dash. It is 2 buttons being pressed at the same time.
Oh my God, my computer almost exploded. I thought we were going to see the fence dash and the Hellway pixel on at the same time. I was about to lose my mind. Xyrak getting a little unlucky with enemy movement there, but gets the God pixel and makes his way through.
The excitement is off the charts, folks. So Xyrak
you don't even know.
Xyrak is on the way to bomb the floor, and Kyong is into Skull Woods, starting off with the best room in the game, the Statue Mummy Room. Kyong actually having a really friendly Statue Mummy Room, so my sarcasm doesn't quite get reflected properly.
Has a little trolled from that Gibdo there, trying to come in the next door.
Skull Woods is canonically the 3rd dungeon. We are doing it 3rd, but after 4th, because counting. And it is casually one of the more confusing dungeons. It has a lot of entrances and exits and different paths you can take. We're not going to see most of it, though. We're just going to get a big key, get the fire rod, and then go to the last section and get to the boss as quickly as possible. And well done by Kyong on our 3rd of 4 bomb jumps.
Xyrak heading over to pick up his Titan's mitts. Apparently he didn't learn his lesson from Kyong picking up this same maiden earlier. Maybe he just didn't get the memo.
The dash of shame from Kyong after getting that last key looks fast, but really loses time.
Yeah, it's actually faster to just walk out there and then head on a diagonal right to the door. No big deal, though, either way. He's going to make his way into the Mummy Hellway. Shoot some fire rods. Looks like he's going with some Joe strats. Really nice.
Gets through.
He's going to head in towards his moth fight. Ooh, takes a mold arm hug and gets blunt bunnied. And intentionally takes another hit from a mold arm so that he can get back into Link's human form as quickly as possible.
Xyrak's fight goes a little off script, but is able to clean up blind without taking a death. Very nice. And Kyong is into the Mothula fight. See if we can get a quick kill here on Moth. Trying to line up for a dash up the center. Gets 1 hit on the dash. The spikes cancel any damage that you do to Moth, but he is able to get 3 more slashes in and quickly dispatch the rogue Butterfree.
So we're going to get a little crystal high five here. Xyrak just finishing up his blind fight and going to make his way into Skullwoods shortly as Kyong is collecting his Skullwoods crystal. And going to be making his way downtown to the ice place, you know?
Yeah, walking fast, faces past, and he's He's home.
He's Ice Pals bound, I think.
Diddly, diddly, diddly. I don't have my keyboard.
I kind of wish that the flute played that to call the bird instead.
That would be a better song. Ooh, Xyrak blowing himself up entering the hut. An unfortunate misuse of an explosive ordnance. But before proceeding to the Ice Palace, Kyong is going to go on a brief shopping trip. Now is the time that is most convenient to pick up the Quake Medallion, which we'll be using later to enter T-Rock, and the Flippers, which are required pretty much just for Swamp and nothing else.
No, Swamp is such a chore. You need all of the like useless items to complete it, you know?
Real quick, Kyong was able to get something called a quick warp there on the gate of Hyrule Castle. Basically, if the camera is positioned, not Link, but the camera is positioned on specific horizontal axis pixels, 2 out of every 8. Oh, Kyong is getting the powder. How about that? That's an interesting time to get it. But 2 out of every 8 horizontal pixels, for whatever reason, the warp animation, the mirror or portal, is 34 frames faster. And Kyong was able to find one of those 2 pixels when entering the warp under the castle gate. It's not the fastest way to get powder, but it's certainly on the way.
Xyrak, getting the fence dash, making me proud. If I have kids one day, I want them to be just like these 2 gentlemen, because this is exactly what you want to see.
If nothing else, you want to get the fence dash. It doesn't really matter anything. It doesn't matter if you win the race, or lose the race, or PB, or have a 2-hour time. If you get the fence dash, your life has meaning. That's pretty much it.
He was practicing that a lot before the race, and he just knew what he was getting himself into.
All life begins with fence dash. All life ends with fence dash.
People often worry about the sub-6 escape way before they should be worrying about just, dashing past the fence. Priorities.
Xyrak, by the way, using the boomerang in this mummy statue room. It's a nice, safe strat that keeps the 2 Gibdos out of play while you're worrying about pushing the statue.
Yeah, if you're having trouble with the Gibdo statue push, I highly recommend using the boomerang. If you go to the practice hack and time yourself using the boomerang, I think you'll find that it's like a negligible difference, especially if you're consistently taking damage and losing time that way. It's certainly better to just expend a second or 2, but go damageless. Meanwhile, Kyong just picked up his flippers, and he's going to make his way to a whirlpool warp that's going to put him right in front of the warp to get into the Ice Palace. So he'll be heading there next.
Meanwhile, Xyrak successfully doing the bomb jump and getting the fire rod, and is now off to the second half of Skullwoods. But as stated, Kyong is here in the Ice Palace. Uh-oh. There's an extra fire rod shot. That's something to keep an eye on. The magic management in this dungeon is actually pretty precise. There's only enough drops at the end of it to make up for, I think, 1 fire rod shot. So he's going to have to get a random drop from an enemy to have
I think he's going to be alright. He only used 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had beams in the ice too, so he only needs 2 if he needs to pick them up. He can get both of them before Bolt's area.
And this is also home to the last of our 4 bomb jumps. Probably, in my opinion, one of the easier ones, just because of the nature of the setup for it. It can be tricky to learn, but once you learn it, it's pretty pretty easy to do. Looks a lot more impressive than the technique behind it. You've got 3 horizontal pixels to stand on when you place the bomb, and then you just move down 8 pixels, and you have some nice visual cues, and Kyong's got it.
Xyrak had a really nice moth fight. He got a nice dash, north-south moth, and then was able to get a couple slashes to clean it up. Kyong heading into the Alex Ovechkin room, killing all the penguins tonight. Taking care of business.
Wow.
Shoutouts to TB Ham.
It's
fair.
Hockey?
Yeah. Yes. The Penguins and Capitals are in the playoffs right now, and Alex Ovechkin scored a game winner tonight with less than a minute and a half left in the game. So, killing all the Penguins. The Penguin Genocide is a good name in my opinion.
Oh, that reminds me, in a real sport, the Cavs just beat the Raptors. Very nice. But here is Kyong going into the Cold Stare fight. Now, the Cold Stare fight is quite dangerous. The dungeon item here in Ice is the blue mail. We did not get it. So, Cold Stare will do 4 hearts of damage, which means that you can die quickly. So we're going to get a setup here, release a spin. Oh, he's going for... Uh-oh. Okay, we've got free puffs. Free range puffs are bad puffs. Already took 1 hit from the puffs. Okay, and he cleans it up. Had the free range puffery going on, but was able to get through without taking a death. A death to Cold Stare is brutal. It is at least 3 minutes because you have to farm for magic and then redo pretty much the entirety of the dungeon, but no such trouble for Kyong. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Xyrak has problems. So
Xyrak is standing in a bad spot. Okay, he's all right. He's okay. He's fine.
So you have to be very careful when you're dashing to do that bonk before the Quake Medallion, because you can catch that slope and be caught standing in the deep water when the cutscene starts, and then you can't do anything. You have to kind of wiggle around with the mirror, but he luckily was able to kind of edge himself out of it and saved himself from a massive time loss. So Xyrak is on his way to get the flippers now, and Kyong, having just completed Ice Palace, now could go a few different routes. We'll see what he does. Alright, so Kyong's going to go and pick up the Ether Medallion. It's safest to do it now before Swamp, because it moves the risk of damage from the Swamp segment, where you're probably not going to die, to the Mire segment, where you can easily die. It's about 1 second slower, optimally, to get it now. But dying the Mire is a lot more than 1 second slower, so good idea to make this routing decision. A lot of players do this. It's, like I said, it's 1 second. It is certainly not the difference between you and sub 130. So if you want to feel better about your chances in Mire, this is a good choice to make.
This is the route I do. It's pretty baller. Strongly prefer.
Yep. And now, after getting the Ether Medallion, he's going to go and do his one last fetch quest and pick up the Ice Rod, which will be used ideally exactly twice in the same boss battle and then never seen or heard from again. Meanwhile, Xyrak is making his way through Ice Palace. And Kyong is now going to head over to Swamp. Nope. Yep, okay. I thought I heard one extra movement on the flute menu.
Yeah, when you do it really quickly and use 2 D-pad buttons, it kind of blend together a little bit. So this Stelphos room that Xyrak's in now that Kyong went through,
The Stalfos are actually linked. If one of them is in a killable state, it makes both of them in a killable state. So then you can then kill both of them with just one bomb, even though the top one is still standing.
The key taking a little bit of a ride there on the conveyor.
Yup. Xyrak having some issues setting up the bomb jump, but is able to get it. Normally you use a menu buffer or something along those lines to kind of time the second position, but just kind of freewheels it and it works out.
Kyong making Link to the Past's OG, original gangsta, MC Han, so proud.
Shoutouts to M-Chan 338. So as Xyrak makes his way to the Cold Stare fight, Kyong is here in Swamp. As we said earlier, Swamp is the second intended dungeon. So you are a little bit OP by this point. You have items you're not supposed to have. You have a sword you're not supposed to have. You have a lot of hearts. You're probably not going to die. But the way this dungeon is set up, the enemy movements and Link's movement, a lot of swimming, it is very easy to just lose buckets of frames here or there. So you won't die, but you could find yourself at the end of the segment feeling pretty good, look down at your timer, and realize you just lost 20 seconds and you don't know where. Xyrak, by the way, taking out Cold Stare without any difficulty. Kyong going through some of the backtrack rooms and is going to go and hit a lever and a switch.
Speaking of this switch.
Speaking of it. What about it?
An archery contest?
You don't hit the switch with arrows, man. Come on.
You don't hit the switch with anything.
Wow, I guess I kind of walked straight into that, didn't I?
Yes, you did, sir. In fairness, that was quite a long time ago that you were notorious for doing it. I think it happened twice in a short span of time. Thus, it became dubbed the Scrivo switch for quite a while, if I remember correctly.
You do remember correctly. I am and continue to be a miserable failure every time I pick up the controller. And that was one of my first failures. First well-known failures. Kyong, however, did remember to hit the switch, so was able to get past these orange pegs and pick up the big key. Meanwhile, Xyrak is getting ready to enter Swamp. Another minor glitch that we didn't mention when Kyong did it, but you're going to see it from Xyrak. In rooms where the mirror doesn't do anything, if you spam the mirror while pushing a block, the block will just go away. It's just gone. So we used that exactly one time in this run, and you just saw it.
It kind of works similarly with the hook shot. If you're pushing a block and you hook shot through it, you can grapple onto items on the other side of it as if the block was not really in the way, which you'll also see briefly in Ganon's Tower.
Yes. It has to do with the block transitioning from an object with collision to a sprite with no collision. But I don't quite know how that affects the mirror interaction. Somewhere a smart person knows. They just don't happen to have a microphone in front of them right now.
I kind of just imagined that because you have the mirror out already, that people like to spam the items that don't do anything to hear the meh, meh, meh noise, that I think someone just may have just like stumbled on it on accident and then researched it from there.
Probably. Now, you might wonder how Xyrak caught up so quickly and closed the gap. Remember, Kyong did the shopping trip for Ether and Ice Rod. Xyrak has not done that yet. So, Kyong is going into the Argus fight, and we are going to go ahead and see... Well, we saw an attempt at the zero cycle, but a misplaced third hook. Just kind of set things off the rails. So we're going to fall back to the normal Argus kill, hook a puff, kill a puff.
Argus cornering him there a little bit, doing a little bit of damage. Getting another cycle.
Yeah.
Gets a nice couple fire rod shots and a spin to finish him off there. So at least cleans up the last bit there pretty nicely. Meanwhile, Xyrak going to be hitting his Scrivo switch and making his way to get the big key for himself.
And now Kyong is in the longest cutscene, a hot 55 seconds of anime text. What's she saying?
I can only assume by your cavalier tone when you said anime text that you are speaking quite coyly and with a level of sarcasm in some way about the Japanese kana and kanji that are going across the screen, my friend.
If you hear in the distance, a siren goes off, and it sounds like weeaboo, weeaboo, weeaboo. That's the weeb alarm. It's sounding for you, Mutsky.
Yeah, I hope they're coming to pick me up right now.
So now Kyong, having finished up Argus, is on his way to Misery Mire. Full hearts because he did his shopping trip earlier and has no chance to take damage, except maybe from a little Chibi Ridley murder bird. Let us see what the fate of the bird today is.
Oh, he's gonna live. I'm ready for it.
I'm here for bird carry. Bird carry is the hotness.
Kyong is definitely an environmentalist and animal rights activist. See, leaves him alone. Actually, you know what? Leaving him frozen there in the middle of the mire, I don't know if that's actually any better than dunking him, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, at least if you dunk him, he's going to thaw out and be able to live a normal life, having thought about the choices that he made. Kind of reminds me of the time that you got dunked in a pool at Casey Benton's birthday party.
I'm impressed you remember her name. In fact, I am shocked you remember her name. Scrivo knows my life from the 8th grade.
Yeah, well, it's part of the greatest 100% guide ever produced. So Kyong is progressing through Misery Mire here. We are, again, supposed to have blue mail by now. So some of the things in here will start doing about 4 hearts of damage. Not about, exactly, including these slugs that are deceptively strong despite their sluggish looks.
Chirp. Chirp. On the real, though, they can do 4 hearts of damage if you get bodied by them. At this point, the game is expecting you to have the blue mail, so they've kind of upped the ante on some of the damage rolls that enemies can do. So there's a number of things that will cap out at 4 hearts of damage for the rest of the run. I think that's the first one we encounter, if I'm not misremembering. I guess, how much do the Wizrobes do if you hug them? 4?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I guess the Wizrobe is...
Yeah, Cold Stare, but boss doesn't count.
Yeah. I was thinking just like typical enemies, but yeah, Cold Stare, the puffs.
Yep. So now Xyrak, having killed Argus, has to make his way up to Ether, required item to enter Misery Mire. And Kyong is going to pick up one of the most broken items in the game. Unfortunately, we don't get to see any of the joy it can bring. The Cane of Samaria. A lot of fun can be had with this item if you so choose to wish to enter the world of major glitched runs. no such hijinks will be happening here tonight. Very nice Wizrobe room there from Kyong. And on the way to the basement of Meyer. Meanwhile, Xyrak is off on the shopping trip.
You'll see Xyrak has a slight advantage on this part. He'll be able to do some stair climbs. Fortunately, jumps off the ledge there. He's going to have to go back up. But he'll be able to stair climb on the second set if he chooses to as well. Looks like he's going to.
Yeah, this is why we talked about it being safer to do the shopping trip before Swamp. As you see, Xyrak is down 2 hearts, and sword beams are pretty useful in the second room of Meyer. So,
typically, just having more health in the Meyer is always a nice thing, considering how much damage we're going to see our runners tank here in the Vidi fight. But Xyrak does have the mushroom that he'll be able to use right before the fight. So as far as the Vidi fight goes, the health should not be a huge factor as much as it could be.
Speaking of things that do 4 hearts of damage, here is Vidi and his cast of little Vidians. Those little eyeballs will all do 4 hearts of damage, like that one.
See it.
And the big one will as well, but it's pretty easy to avoid the big one. Just apply 8 arrows directly to the large eye-shaped object. It is a good thing Kyong had that powder. So now, as Kyong finishes up Meyer, Xyrak is getting ready to enter. Pretty much one dungeon, approximately 5.5 minutes, I'd say. Maybe a little bit less. Maybe about 4 minutes separates the two right now. We'll check from sword up to sword up. So you got a 1:12:03 sword up from Kyong.
Xyrak throwing the bird, no mercy, relentless and ruthless.
Just like Pete Casterly when he tossed you in that swimming pool.
Yeah. I definitely identify with the bird.
And much like the bird, you probably had it coming.
No, I did nothing wrong. I just had a crush on a beautiful angel sent down from the Elysian fields of heaven.
Elysian fields? Listen, if one of your students wrote with such hackneyed things as Elysian fields, you would have a snarky comment on their paper.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I'm just happy when they write with complete sentences, to be honest.
And know
For some of them. Yeah, you know how I feel. The indenting. Oh, dear. Dude, responding to the question, or I guess the statement of, I can't indent, is one of the most difficult challenges I've ever overcome as far as patience is concerned in my entire life.
Do you have a keyboard without a tab button, or what's going on? So, Kyong is now entering Turtle Rock again. You are expected to have some armor. A lot of things in here do 4 hearts of damage. A lot of things do 3 hearts of damage. It is pretty easy to find yourself in a beep-beep situation quickly, so... That is an unfortunate hit from that jelly. So Kyong is also going to be taking probably 3 hearts of intentional damage in the next room, as well as 1 heart there. But if he's played his cards right, he's going to get a fairy drop coming up in a room or two. But of course, Turtle Rock is lousy with anti-fairies. Interesting bonk there from Xyrak to bypass the spark and not take a heart of damage. Turtle Rock is pretty lousy with anti-fairies. Kyong, armed with powder, should find safety in a lot of places here. Does get his fairy drop there from the pokey.
Xyrak gonna be picking up his spike key here. Gonna have to take a little bit of damage. But again, he's got the mushroom, so I expect him to use that. Kyong getting through the chomps, nice and safe.
What we'll see here is if Xyrak chooses to unload the fire rod a bunch of times and get and drain his magic, that's a prerequisite to the fake powder glitch. Kyong, recognizing his arrow situation not where he wants it to be, stops to pick up a 5. And gets through the pokey with no damage taken, and gets the big key. So Xyrak is not going to be utilizing the fake powder, it looks like, unless he...
I don't know if he's just not realized that maybe he's waiting. I don't know if he was waiting to pick up that magic.
Yeah, that could have been it. No, just gonna roll on into video with 6
I like it. I like it.
You only
Respect.
need 4. Gonna take those D-boosts, get in there. You only need to take 4 hearts of damage to kill this boss. Well, you don't need to take any, but optimally.
He shows off the mushroom, puts it right back in his knapsack, and he is cruising on through the Viddy fight. He's going to be making his way up to Turtle the Rock as well.
Meanwhile,
Kyong, and one of my favorite, but also one of the biggest disappointments of my entire tournament.
Almost.
Yeah. Let go just a little bit too soon.
Mutsky, of course, in the group stages, tried to hover this platform room and would have made it, but he didn't. Snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
I know deep down you were loving every minute of watching that unfold the way it unfolded.
Oh yeah,
I am positive.
The only thing I enjoyed seeing more than you almost succeed was seeing you fail.
Aha!
Yeah. So Xyrak, having finished up Meyer, looked to be 1:17:38. Okay,
Yeah,
so yeah, about
right
5.5 minutes separate the runners right now. Kyong entering the Trinex fight, gonna go with the backdoor strats. And you'll never see the Ice Rod again. Okay. Ice Head, Firehead dead.
Xyrak got a little bit trolled by some of the squirrels on the Waffle House drive-by attempt. But he got through safely, didn't get blocked at all, which is obviously ideal.
And Kyong executing both halves of the Trinex quick kill very well. So now, Kyong is on his way to my favorite dungeon, probably the funnest dungeon, very well put together and very fun to execute and practice. Ganon's Tower just pretty much takes everything that you've learned in the game about movement, about using the items in your inventory, about avoiding damage and taking it strategically, and puts it together excuse me, in a series of challenging rooms, and basically forces you to execute as well as you can if you want to make it through alive.
I can't wait for the No EG tournament, so we can see all of the 5-heart or 4-heart Ganon's towers.
The No EG tournament would literally just be me, you, and FSG, and that's it.
We could get Pinkus in it. Maybe. Sabin.
Xyrak taking an extra trip on the platforms. One more stop.
He's having a little fun, that's all. He actually got all of his drops for health recovery in Aga's tower, so that's why he got the full magic and not a fairy like Kyong did.
So now if you start paying attention on Kyong's side, you're going to start seeing some really cool rooms here, such as this boomerang and hookshot combo to get past the double crystal switch. Using the hookshot and the pegs there to give him iframes to walk through the spikes. More hookshot iframes to get through the fire snakes.
There's a couple paths you can choose to take with these warps. Kyong takes the first one, and he's going to walk beneath the set of 2 and into the bottom left corner.
Xyrak getting the bottom left pokey there, but knows how to deal with it.
Nice bonk from Kyong. Unfortunately, he's going to have to pick up an extra set of arrows. There is a skull in the next room, or he could have opted to swap for that. Yeah, but gonna be picking up the arrows in the top here and then dashing in. Those were a really favorable position for that drop, though. He's probably just not like expecting it.
Yeah. But one of the gimmicks of Ganon's Tower is Light World boss refights, and the first one here is Armos, this time on ice, brought to you by Disney. Quickly dispatches of them, and is on his way to the upstairs of Ganon's Tower, where the real fun begins. Meanwhile, Xyrak progressing through Turtle Rock. But Kyong, you're going to see 2 of the best rooms in the game as far as showing what a skilled runner can do, apart from how the developers intended it. These Mimics rooms, it's supposed to be difficult to manipulate these Mimics to your will, but
nice Mimics too there. Really, really nice. Blunt bunny strats.
Kyong is able to get through that pretty quickly. Left side dash for the crystal spike trap. Gotta respect it. Love the left side dash. Xyrak having some trouble here in laser skip. Gonna have to stop and reset. And Kyong's on his way onto the gauntlet. 5 rooms, kill everything to proceed. And each room gets progressively more challenging, adding in first just conveyors, then conveyors and beams. Then you get conveyors and 2 beams. Now we're going to throw in conveyors, 2 beams, and ice. And now just straight up ice. But none of these rooms cause a problem for Kyong. And we are on to the second Light World boss refight, Lanmo.
Xyrak with a really nice backdoor Trinex, meanwhile.
Lanmo a lot faster to dispatch with the Fire Rod in hand. An easy 2-cycle for Kyong. And Xyrak finishing, taking down Trinex.
Some really cool Wizrobes rooms here. Going to be using the cane to kind of blow up in all cardinal directions and kill as many of them as possible with 1 blast.
Well done by Kyong. Ooh, the Fusda Bridge strikes again. Decides to go with the kill 'em all strat and gets through the bridge. And now on to torches. I don't know if he was waiting for the lasers or waiting for the torches to go out, but takes his time and gets upstairs safely.
I think it might have been the torches because he looked a little bit off of his typical rhythm in the torch room because he kind of whiffed on the skull before the like on the last fire rod. He kind of messed around a little bit.
And now we are on to the third and final Light World boss refight. This one is purely optional. You don't have to do it, but I get the feeling both of our racers are going to, and that is Moldorm 2.
I thought he was unbeatable. I never knew you could actually kill him. It's been so long, I forgot.
Yeah, you could just kind of peaceably hover away, but our bloodthirsty competitors are going to be out for Moldorm's head. Yo, shoutouts to Dom Turchi, Kyong with the movement there in the bumper room.
And into the Aghanim refight now. This time there's going to be 3 Aghanims that you can have an opportunity to reflect the energy blast set the original. Really nice setup for the first one here. Gets a triple!
The triple, oh baby. And starts off with a triple and ends up with a 4 cycle, which is unfortunate, but 4 is a pretty average outcome for this fight. And now, having dispatched Aghanim 2, all that is left is the big blue pig.
The blue ham coming at you high.
The bluest of hams. Kyong is on pace for a low 129 here, maybe 28 depending on the fight. Ganon fight 4 phases. Each phase do a set amount of damage. This first one you need to do the equivalent of 12 slashes. We're going to use some double spins to get the first phase over quickly. In the second phase, we also need to do 12 slashes worth of damage. Some of those will be through dashing, some will be double spins. And that was it. Third phase, you just have to slash Ganon 4 times every time. 1 time every time he stops warping for a total of 4.
Xyrak cleaning up the Ice Armos refight, so he's going to be getting his big key and mirroring out here shortly.
Yep. And the fourth phase, so you're normally supposed to have the gold sword or silver arrows, at the very least the silver arrows. But due to a little quirk in how Ganon is coded, you can hit him with spins just as he warps. And it takes 12 of those spin attacks. We also take advantage of another minor glitch called the torch glitch that's in pretty much all except one version of the game. By lighting the left torch before the right one goes out, the right one will never go out, and it allows you to conserve a lot of magic through the fight and get easier triples here. So we're getting these spins. It takes 12 phase 4 spins to win. Kyong having a really good fight here. Minimal phase 3 warps, good positioning on phase 4, and that will be it. It is going to be an official speedracing.tv time of the official speedracing.tv time is a 1:29:06. His timer is a 1:29:04. GG to Kyong92, who will be advancing to the round of 32. And we're going to see if we can get Kyong on in here. Kyong, are you with us? Hello?
Hello.
Oh, hey, congrats. Congrats on advancing. We're gonna continue to keep an eye on Xyrak stream. So, what were your thoughts on that run, Kyong? What do you think went well, and what do you think you need to work on before the next round comes? Kyong may not be able to hear. I'm not sure. We'll see if we can work past any technical challenges that are going on as Xyrak proceeds through the land mode 2 fight.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
There you are. All right. So yeah, congrats on your win, advancing to the second round of the brackets. What stood out to you in your race? What do you think went well, and what do you think is something that you're gonna have to work on before you move on to your next opponent?
This run and almost all runs usually don't have a very good light world. Like I fell Moldorm like that. I was still ahead of my PB after Hera, surprisingly enough. But since I was keeping track of where Xyrak was, I decided to play a little bit safe later, so I converted the mushroom into powder, just to make sure nothing bad would happen.
So you were intentionally going to go with fake powder?
Yeah, my assumption at the beginning was, okay, since I have a lead in our PBs, what I need to make sure is to not make any major mistake into Vitros or Trinex and things like that. So I was planning to get the mushroom at least, and if I saw any kind of that I had, I would end up converting that to powder as well.
Yeah, speaking of fake powder, Xyrak just emptied the clip, unloaded the entire fire rod ammunition supply into the wall, and you're now going to see the fake powder. You're going to use the Candace Samaria, get the no magic message, immediately switch to the mushroom, and suddenly the mushroom is powder. That is a relatively new find that we've seen actually a lot in the tournament. I'm surprised how much we've seen it. So Kyong, just looking at the brackets here, looks like your next opponent is going to be the winner of Walrus Prime and Pika Pals. So I believe they're slated to match up towards the end of... Yeah, they're going to be racing on the 6th, so you'll know who your opponent is on the 6th. What have you thought about your performance in the tournament thus far? Is it have you played as well as you've hoped, or you think that there's still room for improvement? Might be having some technical difficulties again, not sure. Meanwhile, Xyrak is here in the Aghanim 2 fight. And finishes it up without much difficulty.
Yeah, pretty clean Aghanim 2 fight, really. Got some nice patterns, had a couple spins, get a couple extra bonus hits in a few of the cycles, and now he's going to make his way to the Ganon fight himself.
Looks like Xyrak was able to clean up... No, was not able to clean up the second cycle. Is going to have a few more slashes to deliver here.
Getting a couple extra in for good measure. Maybe a little taking on a little frustration on Ganon after that troll there.
Spin to win, 12 spins on phase 4. Xyrak was able to get the torch glitch, so should be pretty straightforward from here. I think it's 11.
Ooh, almost got that top right corner.
There it is. There's 12.
Yep, that's the final hit.
Yep.
And he will be waiting for the fanfare so that he can finish up as well.
Yep. And Xyrak finishing up with an official speedracing.tv time of 1:35.59. So GG to Xyrak. Unfortunately, that is going to be Xyrak's last match here in the tournament. A loss eliminates him from the 64-person single elimination bracket. So, but with a record of 2-1 in the group stages and 0-1 here, he went 2-2 for the tournament as a whole. So a solid performance from Xyrak. So GG to him, and see if he's going to stop in to talk.
I'll be leaving here, so you guys can interview him.
Okay. Well, again,
GG
congrats,
to
and we will we'll see you in the next round.
Yeah.
Just sent Xyrak an invite to the commentary channel if he wants to pop in. But, looks like... Xyrak, are you with us? Nope, looks like we don't have him yet. Or maybe we do? Xyrak, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello.
Congrats on the run, man.
Thanks.
Unfortunately, that's the end of the line for you, but you went 2-2 in the tournament, which is not bad at all. Just what are your thoughts coming out of this tournament? Where did you start from with a PB wise when you signed up? I know you've gotten down to a 132 cents.
Yeah. I was mostly a rando player. I'd done a few messing around with a little bit of NMG shortly after I picked up the rando, but I started grinding my time down after I signed up for the tournament. I was at a 144.
Well, that is a significant improvement in just a few months' time. So we're certainly glad to see that. Yeah, it had some... Both of you actually had some early unluckiness, but then with Helmasaur and the Moldorm death kind of set you up in a position that was hard to overcome. But you battled, and you, even with all that, you still looks like the rest of the run was comparatively pretty good, because you had more than 4 minutes of misfortune, but you weren't 4 minutes off your PB. So
yeah, everything for Ganon's tower was a little but other than that, everything after pod was solid. I gold split his Skull Woods and Ice, so that's something.
Yeah.
It's the Moldorm. I find the hardest thing to deal with Moldorm is what what I call when he gives you the 270 spins, where he's coming directly at you, and then right in front of your face, he sort of does the 270-degree turn so that he hits you in like, or tries to hit you in your sort of like in your one of your backside diagonals. And in both attempts, he did that to me. I don't even know how many times, and that's what caused that. And then Helmasaur, I was just way too tentative when the second phase started. Probably because I was still on tilt from Moldorm, honestly, but I was just way too tentative, and then I put myself in a bad spot, and that's why I died there. But other than that, I can't complain too much.
No, you definitely, throughout the tournament, you won 2 of your matches in groups, and you did, other than the 2 mishaps, Hera and Pod, you played well through the rest of this race. So congrats on a tournament well played.
And there was a particular dash
I was waiting for that.
involving a specific fence that I noticed you pretty much made your I don't know, you dominated it like a champion, and I was not disappointed at all. You also got the Hellway Pixel. Unfortunately, did not get the RNG to go with it, but your end of the bargain was perfect.
Yep. I don't know. The game must have glitched or something. I don't know. But
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that was stuff. I mean, there was some stuff that I'm happy with. I think I nailed all but one of the quick warps, I think, which is something that I'm trying to do more consistently. So that was nice. Some other decent stuff here and there. I really wish I could have, I mean, obviously, but I really wish I could have done this without the 2 deaths. Because it would have been nice to see what could have happened, maybe. But yeah.
Well, we will certainly keep an eye on your progression up the leaderboards. I see more PBs, if you so choose, coming to you pretty shortly.
Everybody's been cutting Scrivo lately, so join the club.
I'm the new whack.
Cut the Screeve.
I'm hopefully it's coming. Those 2 gold splits push the sum of best down to 127.32. So I'm hoping.
Oh yeah, you're due.
Yeah,
in due time, for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, again, congrats on a tournament well played. And I am. Are you going to be doing any more commentary? As I know you did a few matches in the group stage. Are we gonna hear you on the mic anymore?
I will definitely try to. I am participating in the randomizer tournament as well, which is going to monopolize some of my time between that and IRL, whatever that is.
Right.
But yeah, I'm definitely going to try to. I definitely enjoyed the match that I did. I would like to get in and do more for sure. And at least until I cut the magical 130, I'm not done with NMG yet. So.
All right. Well, we if you get the chance, we look forward to having you. So just to recap what we've got on the schedule for tomorrow, 2 p.m. we've got Waffle 42 versus Maltzy, 7 p.m. Zero Rush versus the Lost Llama, and 8 p.m. Kekkoman Shoyu versus Andy. And then, like I said, we've got about 20 some odd more matches between now and May 8th. So stay tuned to the Speed Gaming family of networks for all of your Link to the Past No Major Glitches needs. Of course, there is also the Link to the Past randomizer tournament that is going on, and a whole lot of other. I think we got Metroid Fusion right now, and I'm not sure what all else is running, but you can always check out speedgaming.org/schedule and see what is coming up. But with that, that is all I have to say. So I want to again thank Mutsky for joining me tonight.
Absolutely had a blast. Nice doubleheader for me.
Yes, sir. I have been and will continue to be Scrivo. And good night, everybody.
Have a good night, folks. See ya.